Last week, the Canberra Raiders began the season playing like a team possessed by gremlins. Under captain Mal Meninga today, they plan to exorcise those demons and get on track to the minor premiership. Back from injury is star halfback Ricky Stewart, and if anyone can turn the Raiders around, it's him. And with Daly in, Belcher in, and Bradley Clyde almost in as a fresh reserve, the Raiders hope to live up to their name. The Penrith Panthers also suffered a first-round loss to the Parramatta Eels when Tulson Tollett kicked a field goal late in the game. Coach Phil Gould is rebuilding the Panthers after tragedy and disquiet relegated them to 9th place last season. Handed the captaincy this year is John Cartwright. That leaves Greg Alexander free to weave his magic. Brad Fittler moves into lock forward in an injury-ravaged pack, and Mark McGaw, Shark-turned-Panther, hopes this year he can win back his representative jersey in a winning club. Live from Bruce Stadium right around Australia, the Canberra Raiders taking on the Penrith Panthers, and Arthur Beetson and Ricky Stewart back for Canberra must improve their chances today.
Well, they did miss the service and direction that his passing game gives, and they also missed the field position that tremendous kicking game provides them. But more than that, I think that they have other problem areas, and I would think that Tim Sheens would be looking to them improving the error rate and also hoping that their outside backs will shift forward in defence. They had a lot of problems with their outside defence last week, and Tim Sheens will certainly be hoping for an improvement in that area.
Now, the Panthers have quite a few injury problems, and it's a makeshift pack in particular.
Well, it certainly is, but there are some well-credentialed performers there. You've got Brad Fittler at lock forward, John Cartwright, the captain, and of course Shane O'Grady from Balmain. So he'll be hoping that they can stiffen up, hold the Canberra forwards up front, and hope that their back line can do something out wide.
Now, we had a heavy shower of rain about an hour ago here at Bruce Stadium, but the sun has broken through, and in fact it's going to be very warm and quite humid for the players out there.
Well, it's a tough one out there. No doubt Mel will have problems with it, but both parties have to deal with that.
But the surface is in excellent order. A beautiful carpet of grass for the players, though the lower grades did have a bit of trouble slipping towards the sidelines, though admittedly it was a little wetter and it might dry out. But there's some great individual one-on-one clashes in this game. Ricky Stewart versus Greg Alexander, Brett Mullins versus Graham Mackay, Meninga versus McGaw, and of course Gary Belcher. He'll be looking to try and win back his Australian jersey.
Certainly would be, and the New Zealand selectors will certainly be looking at John Lomax, Quentin Pongia and Sean Hoppe, I would imagine.
There's some great one-on-one battles, despite the fact that Penrith are depleted, because they have this rare talent, people like Fittler, Alexander, Graham Mackay, who's really making his mark as a winger over the last couple of years, Steve Carter back in at 5'8" after being out injured last week, and John Cartwright, of course, the captain in the second row.
Yeah, well, John Cartwright is certainly a great player, and they'd be hoping that they can atone for their defeat last week at the expense of Parramatta.
Here come the Raiders, led out by the Australian captain, Mal Meninga. Gary Belcher, Steve Walters. It's a star-studded side. And Tim Sheens, the coach, will be hoping that all of the Raiders will stay fully fit all season. Too many of them missed too many games last year. Gary Belcher at fullback, Brett Mullins on one wing, Mal Meninga and David Boyle in the centre, Sean Hoppe on the other wing, Laurie Daly at 5'8", Ricky Stewart is the halfback, Jason Croker at lock forward with Bradley Clyde, a fresh reserve for the game, on the bench, Quentin Pongia in the second row with David Furner, Pongia wearing jersey 40, John Lomax, Steve Walters and Paul Osborne the front row. Just waiting for the Panthers. Very keen to improve on last week. Led out by John Cartwright, followed by Paul Smith on the wing today, of course. And Mark McGaw looking for a big game. Wasn't quite at his best last week, Mark McGaw, because he missed so much of last season. And he will be looking to get into full stride today. The fullback is Corey Stewart. On one wing, Graham Mackay. In the centre, Matt Donovan and Mark McGaw. Paul Smith, the other winger. Steve Carter is the 5'8". Greg Alexander at halfback. Brad Fittler at lock forward. John Cartwright in the second row with Peter Shields, Carl McNamara, Brett Boyd and Shane O'Grady, the front row. I've got Arthur Beetson doing the Watusi in front of me, Johnny Peard.
Thanks, Warren. conditions are pretty good down here on the sideline. The grass is in excellent shape. The key to this game, I think, will be the Canberra forwards. If Penrith can stop their momentum there, they'll be well underway to causing an upset. But I think Canberra are well equipped all over the paddock to finish up on top of this game.
Referee is David Manson. Very important contest. No club likes to start the season with 2 losses. And Canberra in particular need to win this game because 2 home games to start the year. They need some points out of the 4 possible from the first 2 games of the year.
John, a couple of familiar names in the sides there. Corey Stewart with the Panther side and Brett Mullins with the Canberra side.
Yeah, sons of former East players. Corey Stewart, if he can inherit some of his dad's elusiveness, the only one that could keep Larper in check was Betty.
And here's the Panthers 30 metres out from their own line. Alexander working it inside to Fittler on the angle, and he beat 1 tackle. Let Lomax reaching. Now the first penalty of the match against Canberra, pushing in the play the ball.
Yeah, it looks like the penalty was going against Paul Osborne, who just pushed in that play the ball. Didn't allow Fittler to play the ball quickly.
So Penrith will look for touch, 10 metres their own side of halfway.
And here's Paul Osborne just arriving a little bit late in the scene, delaying to play the ball. Wasn't really much in it.
So here we go with Mackay in from the wing in centre field. Alexander out wide, they move it well through Seals. The defence moving up very smartly all over the top of Donovan.
That should have been a penalty to Canberra. I thought that he almost walked off to Mark Donovan. And a penalty, one of the players being pulled out again. John Lomax being pulled out by the looks of this. John Lomax gets up and asks the question, what have I done, sir? But David Mance is on hand to tell him what it's all about.
And Arthur Peter Shields figured twice in that movement. He took the ball up one side, gave a pass to Matt Donovan. That time took the ball up for the centre. And he's got good hands and good size, hasn't he?
Well, I was talking to Phil Gill early in the year, and this guy is 6'5", about 195 centimetres, and he's apparently played earlier with the under-21s, and he gave the game away for a couple of years to concentrate on basketball. Thus, the good hands, John.
Yeah, they've got a habit, Penrith, of breeding tall timber in the back row.
There's the tackle from Lomax coming in high. Greg Alexander to shoot for goal. And the chance to put first points on in the match. Alexander with a 76% goal-kicking average in 92. Of course, it was an interrupted season for Greg Alexander. Taking plenty of time. Ball placed about 18 metres in from touch. A handy position for Alexander here. 28 metres out from the posts. And it's waved away. Score remains 0-0. Just 3 minutes of play gone.
Well, it's surprising that they've let Greg Alexander kick. They have Graham Mackay also in the side. Obviously, he hasn't been kicking all that well lately.
Paul Smith brings it back.
John, also, I think that Corey Stewart is a recognised goal kicker.
Yeah, they're well equipped. But Greg Alexander looks a little bit lighter than early last season, Arthur.
They'll be looking for a big game from Greg Alexander. I watched the game last week, and I think he can do a little bit more, Greg.
And so can this bloke, Fittler. He's playing lock forward today, but just sitting just on the fringes of the ruck. He's got a terrific set of feet. He could cause Canberra some problems today.
John,
yes, John, noticeable already that Fittler's getting one wide of the ruck off Alexander.
Yeah, with the lock forward position, Warren, of course, he can put himself on either side of the ruck, so he's going to be very hard to contain.
Carter at dummy half to Alexander under pressure. Got his kick in. Gary Belcher is back there. Just inside his own quarter now. And Steve Carter with the chase.
It's interesting note, John, that Canberra play a very compressed defensive line these days.
Yeah, it wasn't working all that well last week. They had some problems. They were shuffling across, but they weren't going to the attackers, and that's an area Tim Sheens would probably have worked on all week.
Hoppy at dummy half to Stewart. Kicking down to Stewart at the other end, and he makes a mistake. first touch of the ball for Corey Stewart, and he wasn't able to take it.
Maybe
and that will unsettle him.
Yes, certainly was. Maybe that could be just nerves, but this kid took a couple of great bombs last week against Parramatta, and as I said, we'll just give him the benefit of the doubt on that occasion, but those things happen.
Ricky Stewart kicking to Corey Stewart, the son of Lapa Stewart. Bruce Stewart, who played with Johnny Pearce at East in the 1960s. The late 1960s, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. As Meninga straightens it up.
We're lucky to win the toss in those days, Warren.
Some great players, though. Now Belcher swings it out to Mullins. Oh, he did brilliantly to pull it in.
That's a bad tackle over the top there.
What hands from Mullins in the first place.
And that was a swinging arm over the top, and that happened right in front of the linesman, but the referee has seen the incident, but just watch the right arm come in over the top here. But well, it was pretty harmless as it turned out, so maybe it wasn't a well-deserved penalty looking at it in replay.
Probably looked a lot worse than it was because he came in with the arm underneath the armpit in the end rather than over the top. But great hands by Brett Mullins. He had every right to drop that ball. Canberra hitting it wide. Now Mullins is back into the centre of the action in the forwards. And he's ridden to ground by O'Grady. Also in there, Carl McNamara. Furner has it knocked down. And Penrith come up with it, but the referee will play the knock-on from the original knock forward by Penrith.
Yeah, Canberra trying to create the overs, the numbers out wide, but on that occasion, Mark McGaw was well up there. Penrith actually had the numbers in defence, so there was never any danger there.
Last year, Canberra finished 12th in the competition. Now they swing it wide, and a chance out there as well with the centre, or picked as centre, David Boyle standing outside Brett Mullins, who moved into the centre, at least for that scrum.
And Bradley Clyde on the field for Jason Croker.
Bradley Clyde.
Sorry, David Boyle, Warren.
Clyde, who's been out since the World Cup tour with a shoulder reconstruction, as Daly kicks in. Stewart takes it safely this time. Meninga's in front of him. Gets outside him, but not from Bradley Clyde, and the roar from the Raiders goes up. Mackay now takes on Pongia, knocked to ground. We were asking some of the Raiders officials before the game whether it was Pongia or Pongia. They told us Pongia. I believe we've had a call from New Zealand saying it's the opposite, so we might have to ask him after the game. We'll go with Pongia for now.
And that change, Warren, Russell Mullins will go into the centre. Croker to the wing, out of lock forward to make way for Bradley Clyde. And that should give Canberra a very good, complete team, really, that's strong. They don't lose a thing, of course. He's a champion, Bradley Clyde.
Probably a bit of bad luck for some sides, Jack, who are playing Canberra in the not too distant future. We're one of those sides.
Good luck, Arthur.
As Jason Croker runs from dummy half. He's held 30 metres out from his own line.
There's a structure there.
He went behind his man. Lucky it wasn't a penalty. Referee felt that the tacklers weren't impeded and they got quiet anyway. Now the penalty goes to Canberra. And it's against Carl McNamara holding him down.
Well, these are cage killers where probably Penrith could have had a penalty there for obstruction. Now they get a penalty against them.
Ricky Stewart finds touch. Hard to believe that Canberra finished 12th last year. They were only 5 points outside the 5, but way down the list. As Steve Walters, current Australian hooker, takes the tap.
Both these sides prepared to throw the football around, John. Both playing with great width.
Yeah, Canberra in particular. Look at the passes between Ricky Stewart and Daly as they search down the blind side, and there's John Lomax, an import from Wellington, New Zealand.
Front rowers working together, Osborne and Lomax. Now they swing it wide to the other side. Clyde up the middle, and it doesn't look as if he's been out of action for so long, does it? Very quickly, his timing was good, striding forward. A loose pass as a switch of play from Stewart, goes wide to Meninga. Popped up for Belcher. Good play by Mullins to keep it alive. And finally put on the ground by O'Grady. Fifth tackle. 28 metres out. Daly looking for touch. Very close to the corner post. In fact, into the in-goal area. And that was probably where Daly did intend it to go, and Corey Stewart carries it over the dead ball line.
It's an ideally weighted kick by Daly. He will take the defence on, a la Alfie Langer. Has great speed to follow it up, and you'll see young Corey Stewart toying with the idea of letting that ball go, but left no other option but to take it into touch.
Corey Stewart played for Eden on the south coast of New South Wales last year.
And a former East junior, John.
Yes, had a season with East prior to going to Eden.
David Furner brings it back, and he's met by some stiff defence. Cut out ball through Ponga. Stewart now works it to Meninga to Belcher. Belcher shows good speed, looks on the inside. Croker there to back up.
The penalty will go against Brad Fittler here. He had hold of Croker before the ball had been passed back inside, so it's surprising that he hasn't given a penalty against Fittler here.
Beautiful timing by Belcher to run off Meninga, and there's the tackle on the inside. And you're dead right, Arthur. Fittler on top of Croker, had his hands on his back before he got the ball. Good speed shown by Gary Belcher, who said during the off-season that while he was fully fit now, that he felt that he'd lost a metre or two, but he showed a clean pair of heels to capitalise on the chance outside Meninga.
Well, he's a class act, Gary Belcher, and he virtually organises this back line. No doubt he'll create a lot of headaches for a lot of opposition's chasing teams.
Well, Belcher will be looking to gain a Queensland State of Origin jersey and then fight his way back into the #1 jersey for the green and gold, after a very frustrating 92 in which he only played one game for the Raiders. Now David Furner to attempt the penalty goal. 69% goal kicking success rate in 92. He kicked 43 goals. .23 metres out, 8 metres in from touch. Good looking kick. Coming around that little bit and right over the black dot. And it's 2 points all here at Bruce Stadium. I should say 2-0. Alexander missed his shot, didn't he?
A tremendous kick by David Furner. He adopts the around the corner kick. His old man had him the old style, lay him down, the conventional style.
Penrith, another team who had a disappointing 1992, as did Canberra. Penrith finishing 9th, only 3 points outside the 5, but they never looked like getting there. And here's another penalty, again holding down in the ruck.
Shane O'Grady going back, shaking his head, wondering what that tackle was for.
There were 2 or 3 Penrith players all over the Canberra man. 10 metres short of halfway now, with Lomax trying to shrug his way up to the halfway line.
I think it's going to be a long afternoon for players like Matt Donovan and Mark McGaw, John.
Well, the width of the Canberra passes will ensure that they really stretch them in defence. It's a real problem. It makes you feel very uncomfortable.
Daly pops the kick through. Stewart there, and he bounces away from Meninga and Mullins.
He positioned himself very well, Arthur. That first ball he dropped, I will say this for him, he positioned himself very well for that one too.
Well, that's what you're looking for, a fullback, to try and take that ball on the full and get the easy yards back, save the forwards, all that backtracking.
Cartwright takes on Daly. He rides him to ground. On the halfway. Carter. McNamara. Still on the halfway. Alexander comes across, too wide of the ruck, gets the long pass. High tackle from Meninga. The arm slapped him across the head.
And that's going to be a problem with Mal marking Matt Donovan, who is so very light in his feet. The problem with Mal these days is his lateral defence, and we saw on that occasion Donovan stepping back inside and the big right arm of Mal.
Here it is now, Meninga just slapping him across the back of the head. I don't think it did any damage, but the referee had to penalise him.
Ask Matt Donovan.
Yeah, he mightn't remember how to sidestep anymore.
He seems to be back on his feet okay. Mind you, I guess Mal Meninga, if he just hit you with his little finger, it probably hurt. Paul Smith.
A great defence by Walters there, but he did get up to shut that play down.
Boyd at dummy half. A long ball again for Alexander. They're using that long pass from the dummy half to get outside the Canberra forwards. McGaw to play it. Cartwright hits it up hard and powers through the front line.
That's a
over
good
the
run.
top of Steve Walters that time. Alexander goes to the blind side, wrapping around Carter. Inside ball, quickly onto Stewart. Stewart in space, forward pass. I'll call it back.
That was very unlucky. That was a great play by Penrith there. The ball coming back into Corey Stewart. Yeah, tremendous play here. The reverse play up the middle, hoping that just a dash forward there, touch forward that pass, but that was going to provide a lot of headaches for Gary Belcher.
It's only just forward.
And one against the head.
Alexander comes away with it to Carter. A bit of a test here for the Canberra defence. Fiddler. Low goes Meninga. Takes a boot off, that's all. Smith gets away from Clyde. Finally, Ferner gets hold of him. Penrith proving elusive. Now it's Shields. Can't bust Lomax's tackle. They're only 10 metres out in centre field. Alexander. Short ball for McGaw. Took it well. It was a little low. Fittler. The left foot step. Lomax with good defence. Fifth tackle now. They're only 6 metres out. Boyd spins out at one. He goes for the line. Did he get it down? It looks as if he has. And that's a fine piece of dummy half work from Brett Boyd. He's a nuggety fellow, solidly built, and he spun out of the tackle, left one behind, and from close range, they were going to have great difficulty stopping him. Penrith lead 4 points to 2. There was good lead up as they hammered away, and this time Boyd spins away from Lomax's tackle. Gary Belcher couldn't hold him. They tried to get their arms underneath it, but couldn't stop him.
This was after Penrith won a feed against the head, but if you have a look back there, Penrith only had one marker on the last tackle, and of course they relaxed, so that's the cardinal sin.
It wasn't just the fend. It wasn't just the spin, but it was the fend to keep Lomax away as he tried to drive in for the tackle.
Yeah, but great play by Boyd on the last tackle. I suppose Alexander was entitled to kick, maybe grub her in behind the line, but to his credit, he saw there was only one marker there and decided to have a go.
Brett Boyd playing against his old club. He joined Penrith last year, broke his jaw in the second game of the season. And tries against your old club are always very sweet. Alexander missed one shot at goal from a handy position. This is very similar, but on the opposite side. He should be able to bring this around. Pushes it out to the right, brings it back, and that's another 2 points. And Penrith lead by 6 points to 2. Midway through the first half. That'll be a confidence booster for Penrith. They know they come into this game as the underdogs.
Well, they were a little bit unlucky the set of 6 before when Corey Stewart just missed out the try, and maybe that was some sort of compensation.
Crash of thunder. So another thunderstorm. Looks about to hit the ground. We had a very heavy downpour during the reserve grade game, early in the reserve grade game, and I think you're about to get wet, Johnny Peard.
You got the umbrella ready, Warren. But that was good play by Boyd. That was a 6 tackle play, and I think the Canberra defence relaxed just for a second. And Lomax was a victim of a pretty strong young lad. Brett Boyd, a buy from Canberra last year.
McGaw throws a bad pass. He was looking for his winger and centre, and he put it right between the two of them.
They appeared to have numbers out there, John, once again, but you can be guilty of overreading the plays. We said the missed tackles. Canberra falling off a lot of one-up tackles. That is their problems. The handling errors. Penrith got a couple of errors and not many lost possessions, but Canberra's certainly missing in the tackling department.
Daly works it back to Hoppy, in from the wing, running strongly. Stewart, Meninga, a little flat-footed that time, Mal Meninga. Pongia crosses the quarter line. Stewart, inside is Belcher. Hit hard by O'Grady and also McNamara, and they drive him back a metre. Daly. Clyde. Holds it up from Mullins. Back to Clyde now. Weaving through, trying to keep his hands free. That was a beautiful pass originally from Clyde onto Mullins. Just drew his man in. Last tackle now. Long ball. Belcher's up in the line. It went forward. Belcher caught in traffic as he got it away to Ponga, backing him up. And a handover because it was the last tackle.
John, it's all very well to play with width and depth, but the forwards still have to provide some sort of momentum, as we see the ball going out to Gary Belcher. Tried to pass the ball back inside to Ponga, but a handover.
Yeah, well, Paul Smith did well then. He came in off the wing.
McNamara takes it up the middle.
It's almost like the old Warren Ryan defensive pattern, John. Penrith, where they're coming in, leaving their winger vacant and just wedging in.
Yeah, well, when you get smart players like Daly and Stewart inside, you've got to be very, very careful, because the long ball is always on with these players.
Carter. Shields. Pops it on the angle. Donovan can't hang on to it. Penrith are trying to use the angled runner. It's been Alexander and Fittler quite a few times. That time it was Shields and Donovan, but there's no doubt their tactics are to turn the angle against the defence.
It's not bad tactics either, because you got Lomax and Osborne. The lateral defence, they may have some problems in that area, so I can see why they're working those angle runners.
Now Daly takes on Carter and it beats it. Daly will go all the way. Great defence chase from Alexander, but sheer pace and acceleration from Laurie Daly. As simple as that. From the scrum, the pass came out to Daly. He had that little bit of room. He took on Steve Carter, his opposite number, with the sidestep, beat him, and then had the pace to beat the lot of them. Look at this. Carter goes up on the outside. He got inside him. The cover breaking from the scrum. Fittler couldn't get him. And then the only chance was Alexander streaking from the scrum base. He couldn't quite get there, and that's a superb individual try.
Well, Daly did his job. This is great width. He got outside of Carter there, but Fittler made a mess of that tackle. He should have picked him up there. It was a pretty simple tackle. A little bit slow to get out the scrum, Fittler.
Greg Alexander may have copped a boot as he dived to make that tackle, and he is in the head bin. Laurie Daly, who battled a medial ligament tear throughout '92. In fact, he suffered it originally against Penrith last year. And the rain now sweeping across the ground. Scores locked at 6 points all. And David Furner pursues the conversion. 22 minutes of play gone. And he hauls it across. So no added 2 points, and the score remains 6 points each. Canberra and Penrith.
Well, Phil Gill would be disappointed with that play. It's not like Penrith. They're usually miles as we see them, John.
Yeah, just the width, Arthur, as you said, but Penrith will lament the fact that they just made an error, which put down that scrum 30 metres out, and champions like this make you pay for it.
Not a very convincing tackle from Brad Fittler, though, was it? He was grabbing.
No, he was disappointed, Warren. He knew as soon as he put the hand out and Laurie got him with the fend that he was gone.
So the rain and the wind suddenly belting down. The wind is at the back of Canberra after the game started in still conditions.
Well, I think that Gus Gill would be disappointed with their effort as we see Stewart put the foot to the boot, but I'm a bit surprised that they didn't play that way as Brett Mullins comes charging down, but I would have thought that Penrith would have used their kicking game a little bit more, just use field position. They're normally misers in that department, John.
Yeah, well, they're going to have some problems now, Arthur, because that rain coming down, the wind's really freshened up. And Penrith running right into the teeth of it. And Matt Adamson, 41, is the replacement player for Greg Alexander.
Matt Adamson started at fullback last week for Penrith, but was replaced by Corey Stewart. In fact, I think he was a victim of a heavy tackle. Now here's Fittler driving it into the wind, and he finds touch. Did you see the way Ricky Stewart, with the kick just a couple of tackles back, tried to put it very high and let the wind do the work?
This is a great kick by Fittler, just putting it down, low trajectory, in against the breeze, and the ball sliding to the right. into touch with only about 10 metres out. But that's the way to play the game in these conditions. Let the opposition make the mistakes.
And was that a flash of lightning as well, John?
We've got everything down here, Warren.
It is a gale now.
There's a repeat for you.
I thought it was Arthur's stomach rumbling. The conditions have changed drastically here, but they're favouring Canberra for the second half of this first half.
Yeah, the priority will be just to control that ball.
There's Stewart. And he puts it out on the full.
And just with the rain, Belcher there indicating that it was touched in flight, but the lines were not indicating. And, of course, David Manson not having anything to do with that. But I'm a little bit disappointed with David Manson. His problem has been in the past that he doesn't give a good 10 metres. So we're just hoping that he does keep them apart as the match progresses.
Corey Stewart has gone to halfback. Carter, Donovan, inside to Mackay, the big winger, coming up the centre. Handling will be a little more difficult now. Both teams have been prepared to move it around. Carter loses it as he's getting to his feet. Brett Mullins says, "I didn't do a thing, sir." And the penalty has gone to Penrith.
Well, David Manson was about 2 passes out, 20 metres away from the ruck area. Let's have a look and see what happens here. Maybe Carter might have won that one. I don't know.
Difficult to tell from that angle, but it looked as if it may have simply popped out of the hands of Carter. Penalties for all. And Graham Mackay will take over the goal kicking with Greg Alexander, we presume, having a wound stitched.
It was strange to note on that penalty play that Brett Mullins looked around to see where the referee was before the ball popped loose. Well, maybe he might have given himself away.
So Penrith have used up one of their interchanges with Greg Alexander. There's no head bin as such now, is there?
No, it's a blood bin.
Blood bin, head bin?
No, well, the blood bin, that doesn't count.
Mackay chips for goal and lands the goal. So Penrith go to the lead, 8 points to 6. Just to clarify that, so Alexander being off the field, it doesn't count as one of your interchanges.
No, that's right. With a blood bin, that is the rule.
As long as he replaces the player that replaced him, Warren.
Right. Last year, Canberra had the wood on Penrith. They won both the clashes between the two teams. And Paul Osborne was in front of the kicker there. And it phones touch, touching goal, and that will be a goal line dropout.
Well, I can't believe that David Manson obviously felt that Osborne was offside, and he warned him. If he thought he was offside, the penalty should have gone.
Look, Osborne a metre in front of the kicker. We've seen a couple of penalties handed out for that recently. But nevertheless, Penrith made the mistake by not managing to get possession of the ball. It went dead from the kickoff, and so they are forced to drop out.
Well, if you'd have gone 20 metres further, you would have saw that there was conversation taking place between Osborne. Maybe they might have been talking about the weather.
Mackay drops out in front of the goal line. That could have been a penalty technically as well. Gary Belcher brings it back. Both teams fudging the rules. And you can bet that if a referee did blow it up, someone would criticise him for being technical. Here's Meninga. Stewart. Furner standing wide. Getting a little slippery underfoot. Osborne.
And it's obvious that Canberra trying to attack their left side, down Donovan's side. They feel that that's vulnerable.
Here's Lomax, tackled 28 metres out. Stewart flicks it to Clyde. The fence makes heavy weather of it. Osborne loses the ball. There was solid contact there as McNamara and Boyd tried to stop Clyde and bounced off him.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky there. I thought that Osborne was getting that ball out to make it available, and all of a sudden, it's just popped loose. We see
Greg Alexander back on, Adamson off.
And Bradley Clyde will be coming off for the blood bin too, I feel sure, Warren.
And yet another one now, Carl McNamara. He'll leave the field as well. The referee keeping a close eye on any wounds. and that's fair enough. So Bradley Clyde leaves just as Alexander has come back on, and now McNamara will go as well.
Mark Corvo coming on for Bradley Clyde.
And Phil Adamson, 40, is on for McNamara in the Penrith outfit.
Phil Adamson, the brother of Matt Adamson. One plays in the backs, the other in the forwards. Graham Mackay bullocks his way upfield. Last tackle signal. Brett Boyd, does he know it? Finally gets a pass back to Fittler. Off Meninga. They don't know where it's gone. Into touch.
Very lucky there. That could have bounced anywhere, but Penrith now have the advantage of the head in the feed. You see Boyd there taking the ball up without any awareness that it is the last tackle. The big frame of Mal Meninga charges that ball down.
Bad luck, really, for Meninga as it came off his back, and of course it was ruled as a touch. Penrith lucky to get away with that because they mucked up the last tackle. Here's Carter up to the halfway. 8 points to 6 in favour of Penrith after 30 minutes. O'Grady. Alexander. Cartwright wide. McGaw. Mark McGaw doesn't really look to be running freely, but maybe the wet conditions. He is wearing
pretty
the
high
bicycle
tackle
pants.
there. All the Penrith players indicating that that tackle is high.
And Alexander stabs for touch. And Gary Belcher watches it roll over the sideline. Alexander talking to Cartwright. Cartwright, the captain, but Alexander seemed to be laying down the law.
Under these conditions, this is very good ball control. They're just eating the tackle count up and putting that ball into touch on the last tackle.
A huge turnover of players in the Penrith club in the off-season. From all grades, 34 players left Penrith in quite a shake-up. Phil Gould feeling it was time for a change. That's the biggest names amongst those to leave. Mark Dyer, Paul Dunn, Luke Goodwin, Brad Izzard, Cole Bentley, Andrew Leeds.
We see David Furner using that step that he possesses, makes himself a hard target for any of the tight forwards. But the penalty going against Greg Alexander, I think, for hooking David Furner in the play the ball.
Great kick by Stewart from his own side of halfway, takes it inside the opposition 20-metre line. The rain has eased a little, but still coming down as Osborne takes them on.
That's a
Deep
great
back
tackle
line for the Raiders. Stewart dummies to two men. Where was the runner?
Where was the cavalry?
Daly. Meninga. Belcher. Shrugs off Carter. Still going is Gary Belcher. Alexander has to finish him off. Only 8 metres out now.
Get them back 5 or 10, whatever it is.
Stewart. Daly. Straightens it up. Goes straight through. Oh, lost it. Daly lost it as he was about to go over the line.
That was a tremendous
He's
play.
dislocated a finger.
Tremendous play by Phil Adamson.
Laurie Daly, carrying the football, has dislocated a finger and lost the ball.
But have a look at the play here by Adams as he knocks the ball down. And that's fair play. Because he's not attempting to make the tackle, he's going for the strip. Mick Stone did elaborate on this, and we see here with Laurie Daly.
Well, he's got the finger back in. It's been pulled back in.
That was a result of the Adamson play where he banged straight to the hand.
Daly very nearly in for number 2.
I think he's up a few cogs in speed this year, Arthur, injury-free.
He's injury-free, but plus he's a few kilos lighter, John. I'd be a little bit quicker if I was a few kilos lighter myself.
Doesn't stop your speed to the table.
He's Fittler now. 8 points to 6 in favour of the Panthers. McNamara loses it in a heavy tackle. He was driven by Meninga. And Daly has hurt that hand again. I don't think he's dislocated the finger a second time, but it hurt. Osborne. Meninga.
John, they're a much better side when they are going forward on a couple of rucks.
Yeah, and they're showing a likeness to this left-hand side. They've got a big back line down the right-hand side, and they're choosing to come down the short side.
Steve Walters hunting across field. The little dummy as they held off him. Now he gets it away to Croker. He came back in from the line well. Only 11 metres out now. Walters on the ground. Meninga loops a wide pass. Not a good pass. Daly goes back. Alexander was on Daly. Now it's Pongia. Stumbling to the 22. They've lost ground. It's on the 5th tackle, on the quarter. Daly puts a kick through. Loses his footing. I think it was legal. Knocked on at the back though by Adamson. It'll be a 10-metre scrum.
Here we see the little grubber in between, which he does so well. Just falling there as he is bumped. But we have a look at Adams there making a meal of that, and lucky that Bradley Klein wasn't a little bit closer.
I think it might have been
Croker rather.
Now Belcher. Furner. He loses his footing. Got the pass away through Pongia's legs. Meninga picks it up. Belcher. Both teams having trouble with their handling and with the wet ground underneath their boots. Lomax does well. Pongia trying to spin out. Boyd held onto his ankles. Steve Walters, very close. Trying to return the Brett Boyd try. Now Osborne goes low. He's short. They've used up 5. Meninga taps it over the top to Croker. Still in trouble on the last. Off Meninga. Cartwright. I thought he'd lost it forward. Referee says it was okay.
Yes, great scrambling defence by Penrith. They were put under a lot of pressure by Canberra, but I thought they took a lot of wrong options.
The Raiders kept hammering away in close, didn't they?
You're not wrong. Gee, Smith's come up with some great defence, John.
Who's that, Arthur?
Paul Smith has come up with some great defence.
Well, they're coming down his wing. He'd be sick of the side of them, but he's performed well.
Peter Shields to play it. Alexander, not afraid to work it wide to McGaw. We'll talk about the Penrith injuries, and they're all important ones. Colin Vandervoort out, Paul Clark, Barry Walker, Gary Kennedy, and their signings, Ryan Girdler and Ashley Gordon, unavailable through injury. So that's 6 top-class players that they're without. There's Jason Croker playing on the wing now. Meninga back inside to Croker. He's got space, got support as well. Belcher throws the dummy, steps still going. Cartwright in cover. Belcher goes again. Great tackle from behind, just got there in time.
They have numbers out the right. All they have to do is shift it.
Corey Stewart with that last tackle. Now it's Daly. Out wide is Pongia. He's got a man outside. Johnny Lomax will score. Kiwi to Kiwi, standing wide. They knew that's where the defence was short. They set themselves well and finished it off. Standard play, but very easy to make a mistake when you've got all the time in the world and the defence is coming across at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And fine football. All started on the previous tackle by Belcher and Croker. And the last pass here from Pongia out to Lomax, and the big front rower finishes it perfectly.
A tremendous run by Gary Belcher. That set the standard, and we just see a case of quick hands. Beautiful pass by Ricky Stewart. Good hands there by Laurie Daly. Pongia gives it an equally good pass. A lot of pressure there on Mark McGaw and Stewart.
Here's the start of it all. Mal Meninga from dummy half swings it inside to Croker. Croker did well here, links up with Gary Belcher into passing. The dummy half, I should say the dummy, almost looked as if Belcher was going to go all the way at that point, but a great tackle from Corey Stewart. Players overrunning the man, made all the more difficult by the wet conditions. David Furner of Canberra in front now, 10 points to 8. Just before half-time. And Furner's kick raises the flags. And Canberra lead by 12 points to 8 now.
It's a handy time to hit back by the Canberra side. A beautiful play early from dummy half by Mal Meninga when he linked up with Croker and also Gary Belcher, and that provided an easy passage for John Lomax.
See Mark McGaw race up and try to get to Pongia there, but he really had no chance. He was one out.
He almost forced the forward pass, didn't he? That was a pretty close pass to Lomax.
Penrith have missed 18 tackles now. 18 tackles missed to Canberra's 11 missed tackles. We're just before half-time now.
And once again, it was the initial break down that left-hand side, in that left-hand area that led to the try.
Canberra will be happy enough to play out time. Daly takes the tackle of Carter. And the half-time siren sounds. Canberra's lead could have been even bigger if Laurie Daly had managed to get over the line, carry the ball right over the line and force it for the try. And he's still shaking that hand, which was damaged in the tackle. But it was Adamson managing to save that situation. But Canberra coming back to score just before half-time, and they'll go to the break leading by 12 points to 8.
This is your Saturday afternoon of sports, bringing you live rugby league action at its best on ABC, your national network.
And we'll be returning to the Rugby League for the second half action. Now, though, a quick look at the cricket happening around the country. At the MCG, New South Wales 4 for 294, slated the last man out for a great knock of 143. Michael Bevan 52 not out. Players back in action after a big rain delay at Bellerive Oval. Tasmania lost a wicket 8 for 326, while at the Adelaide Oval, Western Australia are now in their second innings 3 for 140 after South Australia's earlier declaration of 8 for 334. In the Ramford Stakes at Rose Hill this afternoon, the rivals Viandacross and Naturalism lived up to expectations. Viandacross firming to odds-on favouritism before the race. Here's the closing stages.
200, Mile High is the leader, taken on by Viandacross. Naturalism's getting a run up on the fence, and Rough Habit flying down the outside might still beat them all. Viandacross has got to the lead. Here comes Rough Habit. Naturalism up on the fence, but Viandacross reigns supreme, wins by a length. Naturalism second.
Yes, Viandacross at 5 to 4 on a great ride by Jim Walker, was taken off him last spring, come back with a triumph. Naturalism pocketed midway through that race, second at 7 to 4, with Mahaya at 25s coming in third. In the Commonwealth Bank Cup, Canberra rivals Lake Tungurungong and Lake Ginadira have played out a tight encounter at Bruce Stadium in Canberra. With the details, Bernard Cohen.
Both sides.
With missed tackles at a premium in the first half, gaps weren't hard to find. Tuggeranong locked forward Robert Gloverdic, giving his side an early lead.
They've still got tackles left.
Tuggeranong continued to run the opposition ragged early and lapped up a 10-0 lead. Gloverdic in for number 2, and to this point, it was all one-way traffic.
Here's trouble coming for Ginadira. He got there, and that's a try.
Ginadira then got their act together. Captain and hooker Mick O'Neill, their pick in the first half. He got his side back into the game. Referee Peter Filmer in great position to award the try.
Gets the ball over line. That's not a double movement. It was all for mine in the one motion.
Ginadira then hit the front and went into half-time, leading 12-10.
Georgievski gets the football away through Newman. Now there's a chance for Nowlan. Nowlan beats him cold and gets it.
But that's what they're trying to do.
Tuggeranong had the weight of possession early in the second half, and this error by the touch judge didn't help Ginadira's cause.
Let's have a look at this. Well, I think the ball's already out. It's one of those touch-and-go decisions.
From the ensuing set of 6, Tuggeranong scored the match winner.
Here's a chance. They should score, and they do through Lukowski.
Commonwealth Bank man of the match, Tuggeranong locked forward Robert Gloverdic. Final score, Tuggeranong 14, Ginadira 12.
And next week, the Commonwealth Bank Cup moves to Leichhardt Oval, where Ashfield, De La Salle and Maris Brothers Eastwood meet. As we mentioned earlier, the World Youth Soccer Cup reaches its finale tonight at the Sydney Football Stadium when Ghana meet Cup favourites Brazil for the coveted crown. Australia shortly line up against England in the playoff for third. If they win, it will be the best ever result for an Australian soccer side. And with me to discuss our chances and take a look at tonight's final is Australian national coach Eddie Thompson. Welcome, Eddie. I mean, after the Olaroos' fine performance at Barcelona, these World Youth Championships have been such a big boost for soccer.
Soccer's had the biggest boost, I think, the last year that it could ever get. I mean, where would you see full signs at stadiums in Melbourne and Sydney today? A full house for soccer it's fantastic.
Having such a profile as we're getting now, I mean, where is soccer headed? You've been quoted during the week as saying perhaps now we should be sending our talented youngsters overseas in greater numbers. Is that the direction to take?
Yeah, I think so, because we're only part-time here, and I mean, to finish third or fourth being part-time players against full-time players, I mean, we've achieved as much as we can do, and if some of these youngsters go overseas, they come back much better players for us. And obviously we're hoping that just that extra bit of class can win us a championship.
Well, let's have a look at one of those young talented players in these championships, Paul Agostino. A remarkable goal here.
This is a goal in a million, because there was a lot of elbows, a lot of feet flying in that box, and Agostino just took off there over two defenders, and we're 1-0 down at the time, and that was the turning point in the game.
And really caught the imagination of the Australian public, haven't they?
Yeah, the Australians love to see our tryers, and I think that these guys showed that what we lack in the basic skills, the Brazilians and teams like that, we never stop trying, we always keep going. And I mean, beating a team like Uruguay after being 1-0 down is a fantastic result.
Well, against Brazil, we went down 2-0, but we held them out to the 77th minute, and they were two class goals that Brazil did score. If we can take a look at those now.
This was a great performance by us in the first half. You see Marcelino, who's probably one of the best midfielders in the world now, nice one too, and really so cool. These are the sort of class players that we do lack at certain times during the game, but that was a super goal.
We see now a brilliant solo effort by Kate. Is it because they're beginning from such a young age playing that they do have these extra skills?
They've got a natural flair of Brazilians. I mean, there's probably 20 times as many players in Brazil as what we've got here. These kids are brought up tough, brought up rough, and as you can see, they don't lack any confidence either. And these guys have probably played 50, 60 games for Brazil already. OK, we look at Ghana as well. They played their semi-final against England. What a flamboyant side. Well, Ghana's, they're the new, I would say the new Brazil. The African teams now are fantastic, and Ghana's, I mean, really it was 2-1, but the first half against England, that was absolutely whitewashed them. And you can see again the hate attention, the real shrinking violets, these guys. And what about Brazil tonight in the final? A case of two show ponies in front of a full stadium. What can we expect? It'll be fantastic, because they'll be trying to be, each one will be trying to be the number one. They've got Lamptey, and then they've got Marcelino. They two in midfield will be trying to outdo each other, trying to be the champions. And as you can see, when they score goals, they're bumping bums, they're wiggling each other. They'll be desperate to put one over the other one, I can tell you. Are you going to put your reputation on the line and make a prediction? I'm not a good judge in these things. I would say Brazil, because they're slightly better organised in defence, and they've improved every game. But Ghana's the type of team, on their day they can beat anybody, so I think the winner's got to be the public today. And quickly, Australia and England, traditional rivals, a few injuries for Australia. How do you see that match going? Yeah, we've got one or two knocks, but everybody should be okay for the game. Peter Sekenis, who's a vital player for us, he's back in midfield. And you know how much I love the English, you know. I think we'll beat them. I think the crowd will lift the guys. They're pretty well down the dumps after the midweek defeat. The crowd will lift them, and I'm sure they'll beat England. Well, the best ever result for us if they do. Thanks for your time, Eddie Thompson. Thank you. Yes, it should be a terrific final and playoff for third tonight. We'll have highlights of the action on ABC TV 10:20 tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Back now, though, to Bruce Stadium in Canberra for the rest of this afternoon's Rugby League, and good afternoon again to Warren Boland.
Thanks, Karen. Well, round one last weekend of the competition didn't really reveal an obvious changing of the guard. In 1993, most of the clubs looked a little rusty and seemed to be having trouble settling into new combinations and getting used to 80-minute football again. But three teams who were quickly into stride were St George, East and Illawarra. Centre Paul McGregor threw the pass of the match as the Steelers crushed hopes of a South Sydney resurgence 19-0 at Wollongong. Filling in for Brett Rodwell, Jonathan Britton, last year's Steeler Rookie of the Year, bagged 3 tries in his first-grade debut. At Cronulla, Brisbane opened with 2 tries in the first 12 minutes, Steve Renoff sending man-of-the-match Michael Hancock in for the first. Down 16-4, the enthusiastic Sharks fought back, but the Broncos were rarely flat out, winning 19-10. At Campbelltown, the sharp-stepping Jason Taylor starred for Wests, who bounced out to a 14-0 lead after 26 minutes against the Gold Coast. From there, the Seagulls did the scoring, including this unusual but legal try to half Ali Davies, not a shepherd, but the Magpies prevailed by 4 points. At North Sydney Oval, Lady Luck was on the Bears and Greg Florimo's side, as Daryl Halligan's kick ricocheted from the posts, much to the shock of Manly. Neither side sparkled, and there appeared to be a forward pass in the second of North's 2 tries, so the 19-4 score flattered the Bears. At Penrith, with Parramatta coach Mick Cronin feeling the heat even before the first game, David Woods and Michael Buettner combined for the Eels to score the only try of the first half. A barnstorming run by Graham Mackay, started and finished by Greg Alexander, put the Panthers in front midway through the second half. The score seesawed with only a point either way before this penalty near the end. Marker Phil Adamson was penalised for standing to the side, but I can't agree. I think it should have been play on. Buettner kicked the goal and the Eels won 11-10. Wins are hard to come by for visitors to Newcastle, and East worked hard for theirs. The Roosters led 14-0 early in the second half. Great hands by Paul Harrigan and David Boyd ignited a Knights comeback to get within 6 points. Finally, East sealed a 20-10 victory. A concussed Dennis Beecraft was helped from the field, and a very lucky Paul Harrigan stayed on the field after this high tackle with a swinging arm. In the midst of a crackdown on head highs, one wonders why Harrigan wasn't at least cited to explain his tackle. Meanwhile, St George's Andrew Walker this week was suspended for 4 weeks by the judiciary in what I consider was a fair and consistent sentence. Back to Newcastle, and a ruling late in the game by Bill Harrigan puzzled players and spectators. Fullback Robbie O'Davis caught the kick on the full in the in-goal, but instead of a 22 tap, a goal line dropout was ordered. Moments later, another kick was taken on the full by O'Davis, and a 22 tap was ordered.
And Robbie O'Davis looked straight at Bill Harrigan as if to say, well, what are you going to do this time?
Referee Harrigan was correct on both occasions. In the first instance, O'Davis jumped from the field of play before landing in the in-goal area. Where he took off from determines the ruling, just as it would on the sideline. To last night now, and Canterbury and Brisbane travelled across the Tasman to Auckland to kick off round 2.
Now, here's Goodwin. Goodwin's 8 metres out. Gives the pass for Dimmick. It's a try. Canterbury, a sensational try.
A very enthusiastic Canterbury defeating Brisbane by 20 points to 10. Martin Bella, the man of the match. And Arthur, Canterbury look as if they really are going to be contenders this year.
Well, they were tipped as to be up there amongst the top 5. Brisbane, no doubt, a little bit disappointed with their effort. The steel doesn't seem to be there in defence. We remember that game against Wigan where they were really outstanding in defence, and no doubt Wayne Bennett will be cracking the whip this week.
Well, let's take a look at the statistics here at Bruce Stadium. Overall tackles, Penrith have got through a little more defence, 82 versus Canberra 77. Overall errors also a few more by Penrith, mainly missed tackles in that 25 count. Penalties 5-4 to Canberra, scrums 7-4 to Canberra, 1 going their way against the feed. Overall metres gained, favouring the Raiders, 730 metres versus 601. Time in possession significant, 5 more minutes worth of ball for Canberra. And at half-time, the Raiders leading by 12 points to 8. And quite an impressive performance by both teams, really, through that half, considering the weather.
Well, this is it. In these conditions, both sides willing to throw the ball around. They're willing to give it plenty of air. Neither side, surprisingly, prepared to indulge in trench warfare, which does surprise me under these conditions. In the old days, you would have said, if there was rain about, let's just take it up amongst the forwards, keep it simple, just play out your sets of 6. But that's not happening out there. They're just continuing to throw that ball to either side from wing to wing, and both sides are competing at this level.
I guess it says a little about, 1, the synthetic balls, the all-weather balls, and also, 2, the skill level of players these days.
Oh, tremendous skills out there. Greg Alexander, Ricky Stewart, Gary Belcher, Laurie Daly. Tremendous players out there, tremendous skills, and they deserve the money that they get.
Penrith taking the lead 6-2. Canberra came back with the Daly try to make it 8-6, and then Lomax scoring just before half-time to make it 12-8. in favour of the Raiders, but I don't think anyone would have decided who's going to win this game yet. A lot of football to be played in this 40 minutes coming up.
Well, I would think that Gus Gill would be hoping that his players use that breeze at their back at the moment, play it a little bit tighter, keep it in the forwards and take your chances when you get down in Canberra's field position.
Both teams, while moving the ball around, took a few risks, so there will be opportunities for both teams. The unforced error. Second half under the way from the boot of Alexander, going for height. And Clyde back from having stitches. We saw quite a few players with wounds in the first half, 3 of them in all. And John Peard, what do the coaches have to say?
Well, the Canberra room, Warren, Tim Sheens would like to play the game out of his quarter, of course, and use a lot more angle running where, with a wet track, there's a chance of getting in behind the defence. Phil Gill's a bit concerned about the control and also the fact that they've got some set plays, and if they can continue to use their 6, maybe they'll have a chance to use some of them.
Corey Stewart back in the fullback spot now. Remember that Adamson was out there for a while, with Stewart moving up to halfback, but Alexander is on the field.
I thought the signs were there, John, that towards the end of that first half, that they would start to appear a few cracks up the middle of Penrith. Because they do move the ball so wide, I suppose there is an uncertainty there that you want to get out wide and mark up against Meninga and guys like that.
Yeah, I thought Penrith should, speaking about Penrith, I think they should be probably working more down the centre field, use their angle runners around the rucks and just try and put some pressure on the Canberra side, rather than try and match them by moving it a little wider.
Belcher brings it back. Of course, this is a rematch of the 91 grand final. It's only 18 months ago these two teams met at the Sydney Football Stadium to decide the championship of 91, but of the 26 plus players out on the field today, only half of them were in the grand final that day. Quite a few players either injured or have left. And particularly Canberra, their forward pack is a very different pack these days. Stewart gets his kick in. And Stewart at the other end, Corey Stewart, not game to risk knocking it over the touchline. He's happy to take the feed to the scrum.
Yeah, very good kick by Ricky Stewart, just positioning himself on the short blind there, just putting it very low, and Corey Stewart just coming over and deciding to stay away from that one.
It's interesting, isn't it, to think back to 91. Canberra have lost Lazarus, Todd, Barnhill and Coyne. Penrith have lost Geyer, Dunn and Simmons. That's just from the 2 forward packs that played the grand final.
It's a big hole. See Mackay and Pongia coming up over the top there, the swinging arm.
And Fittler has a go across field. We've got a third opinion on the pronunciation of Quentin Pongia, we'll call him. Had another check with the Raiders. This time round they've decided that it's Pongia. So the New Zealand phone call, of course, New Zealand taking this game.
And John,
thanks for the call.
That was an example of the slide defence not shifting forward.
Yeah, they took some time to get Cartwright on the ground.
Last tackle coming up, and Alexander putting the kick in behind Hoppy, and a beautifully directed kick by Greg Alexander.
It's a better set of 6 for the Penrith side.
It was a good set of 6, but I'm just wondering about whether they should have put Belcher under a little bit more pressure with the bomb, John.
Well, we always think that you've got to put it up for auction. Give yourself some sort of chance, Arthur.
They had pretty good field position there, Penrith.
With Canberra feeding the scrum, there's no fullback for Penrith. He's up there in the line. So every player on the field, the far winger, is inside the Canberra 20-metre line. Now Greg Alexander drops back to fullback for Penrith. And as he pedals across field now, Corey Stewart heads back to the halfway line. Pongia hits it up. Osborne throws a dummy, finds some space. Neat piece of deception by the former St George player. Stewart. Daly goes for depth, and Stewart takes it safely. Eyes on the ball. And he steps past Mullins. Nice work by Stewart. To the halfway.
He possesses a good turn of pace, Corey Stewart.
Graham Mackay. Alexander. Fittler inside to Donovan. He hangs onto it. Matt Donovan, the former Gold Coast player. O'Grady wrapped up in solid defence by Pongia. Boyd forced to go himself when the ball was a little clumsy. Last tackle. Another slow play the ball and slow work at dummy half. McGaw puts it through on the last. Carter chasing. Belcher commits himself to it. Didn't knock it on.
A better control by Penrith the last 2 sets of sixes, but the option on the last probably wasn't the best one there either.
I think they were trying to win a penalty. I thought he could have done a better job than that, John. In the play of the ball, he had a man lying in the ruck area.
Shane O'Grady, he tried to milk a penalty.
Well, you've got to do a better job than that, haven't you?
Phil Gill must think there's been some pretty ordinary hands dealt against him the last year. It was a howling gale behind Canberra in the first half, and the wind switched right around. It probably favours Canberra again this half.
And Stewart finds touch, doesn't gain that much ground, but the Canberra players then starting to fire up and making ground. There was a great burst by Meninga. He was well tackled by Boyd, and then we saw them continue on as well. So hitting it up, and there seemed to be a bit of momentum building in the Canberra play. It was just a disappointing kick to finish.
Well, it's good play by both sides, isn't it? At the moment, it's just an arm wrestle. I'm just hoping that one side will make the mistake.
Alexander puts it in. Mackay's got it. And Belcher's up there to make the tackle.
Of course, if Canberra score, next they're going to be very hard to peg back.
McGaw struggling his way forward. McNamara. O'Grady joining Penrith from Balmain this year. Shields looking wide, but they wrap him up well. Pongia and Bradley Clyde. Last tackle. Alexander driving it deep. Belcher's got it. Croker gets back there to support him, but a great tackle by Donovan.
Yeah, that tackle had to be made. There was a fair bit of yardage between Belcher and the second Penrith line.
The kicking game of both teams starting to play a big part because they're controlling it for 6 tackles. Remember that 91 grand final where Greg Alexander just kept driving Canberra back. Lomax, try scorer in the first half. Stewart hooking it back to the blind side in behind Paul Smith, and that's a much better kick from Ricky Stewart. He got great distance that time.
Yeah, great kicking game by both halves, but there's no pressure at all put on these halfbacks here. We all know that Ricky Stewart and Greg Alexander will control the destiny of the kicking games, but no pressure at all from the opposition.
Well, on that occasion, the second marker, Carl McNamara, just stood there and watched.
Well, if you want to get results, you're going to have to work for it, and neither side putting the effort in.
Metres gained, Canberra over the 1,000 now, well ahead of Penrith, and still with that 5 minutes extra possession so far. Mackay comes into the middle, just as Penrith looked as if they might have tried to take Canberra's sliding defence on the outside. O'Grady, well tackled by Daly. He stood his ground even though he was bumped backwards.
He might have lost a few kilos, but I'll tell you what, his defence is still spot on.
Mackay does well, running on the angle, straightening it up. Carter trying to worry his way on the fringe of the ruck, but Osborne and Pongia hang on to him. Alexander on the last. Belcher lets it go. Could hear the call from a teammate, let it go, badge.
At least that time there was a little bit of pressure put on by Quentin Pongia.
Both kickers after searching for the sidelines. Out of the last 6 kicks, 3 of each side, that's the 5th one that's gone over the sideline.
Well, we've seen a lot of patience shown by both sides, John. It's a contrasting half, isn't it?
Well, it's like a game of chess at the moment. We're just looking for something, someone or something to crack.
Belcher goes to centre field. Bradley Clyde. Canberra aiming to improve their defence this season. Last year, only 4 clubs, or I should say 4 clubs, had a worse defensive record than Canberra, so they weren't very impressive in that area.
And this could be the mistake that Canberra were looking for. Carl McNamara laying on the tackle player. See him sliding in over the top.
And the penalty's now 6-4 in favour of the Raiders. But last season, Canberra gave away, on average, 19 points a game, and you can't win a competition doing that. But admittedly, they had a lot of their stars out much of the time. Daly, for example, missed 15 matches last season. Clyde, 7. And here's Hoppy in centre field. Lomax takes them on. The fence is holding well at the moment. Walters sneaks out a dummy half. Drops it on the ground. Play on.
And Canberra have a big back line set.
Surging run by Osborne. Meninga holds it up for Belcher. Hoppy.
Yeah, they're easy meat on that occasion.
A couple of high-ish tackles coming in from Carter and McGaw, trying to put him on the ground. Daly slips it away to Furner. Furner kicks through. Inside, Alexander still going on. Great run, David Furner. Tremendous burst by the second rower. He's a big man, but he's got good pace, and he also demonstrated a left foot sidestep to get inside Greg Alexander. The initial pass was held up. A very flat pass from Laurie Daly. Out it goes. The one runner goes through. Here it is, Daly holding it up to slip Furner through the gap. And again, Brad Fittler seemed to be a little slow to get moving in defence. And Furner spears through. And he has got good pace. Beats John Cartwright to the line.
Yeah, tremendous running here by David Furner. The ball's just shifted wide. That was after a right-hand foray by the Canberra Raiders. But Furner there showing a great step back inside. We see Greg Alexander going across to the danger point. And Furner planting that just to the left of the uprights.
David Furner, the son of former Australian coach and selector Don Furner, scored 102 points in 16 games last year. Right in front. 2 more points, and Canberra now have established a healthy lead. It's 18 points to 8 in favour of the home side.
Well, Canberra, one of the few teams that'll spread a ball right from the sideline. A couple of quick hands here. Ricky Stewart cutting a player out. But here's the pass. Laurie Daly just read that Fittler had come in and out off the line. That was enough for David Furner to show some more of his abundant skills.
You don't think that was employed by Walters and Osborne there? They were acting as shepherds?
Yeah, I don't think it held them up, Arthur. The fact was that Fittler came in off the line. He should have just stayed with Boyd.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I thought that they did run, and it did cause some sort of inconvenience for Shane O'Grady.
Yep, that happens every weekend, Artie.
The crowd are getting behind Canberra now. Penrith are going to have to stiffen the defence. Canberra with their tails up. Ricky Stewart driving them back. Won't find touch. Corey Stewart. Daly with a fine tackle. Committed himself, drove in low. Paul Smith now for Penrith. Peter Shields leading the tackle count for the Panthers with 21. Paul Smith in trouble, getting to his feet. And after Shields for Penrith comes Brett Boyd and Carl McNamara with 19 and 18 tackles. Here's Fittler.
Men out wide, will they use it? Cartwright gives it to Carter. I thought it was forward. It's play on. It goes to Mackay. And across him, covered a fence. Was one of the forwards, was it?
Yeah, Mark McGaw was held back there.
Hoppy. Oh, it was Hoppy. Hoppy got him.
Yeah, but we might hear something further about Mark McGaw being held back.
Now a knock on by Stewart.
Neither linesman coming in. I'm a little bit surprised at that. We could go back, if we could get a replay on that. Might see that Mark McGaw was held back.
Here's the breakdown in play as Shields couldn't hang on to it and put the pressure on Stewart. Here's Daly. Talking about those tackle counts for Canberra, Laurie Daly is leading the way. The 5'8" has 16 tackles, Paul Osborne 15, Steve Walters 11.
Well, Laurie Daly's certainly leaving his mark on this game. As I said, he's leading the tackle counts. Proud to try, unfortunately. Unlucky not to score a second and creating the third try.
Pongia taking on the Penrith forwards. They shovel it wide. Meninga, they're all onside. It's a deft kick. Alexander slides onto it well. He got down low, covered it up. Clumsy play the ball though. Smith. Brett Boyd goes into dummy half. And there's a replacement on there for Penrith. That's Phil Adamson.
That's a great all-flow.
Cartwright. The skipper tries to lead by example. Doesn't do a great deal of damage. 3 players pulled in on him though. Fittler. McGaw finds a hole, loses it. Stewart turns defence into attack. Mark McGaw seeing daylight for the first time. Now Meninga in amongst the forwards.
And on that occasion, David Manson pointing to the defence, we stay back, and then both of them in front of him.
Lomax throws a chancy pass, came off. Steve Walters. Stewart switches it to Clyde. And the crowd roar for a high-ish tackle by Steve Carter. He looped in close to the neck. No movement from the touch judge or referee. Now Mullins tackle. 20 metres out on the 5th tackle. Stewart goes for the field goal. And it slides to the left. The lead at the present time is 10 points. Stewart trying to make it 11. Now the touch judge is in. This may be the high tackle by Carter. But obviously, if that is the incident, it can't have been too bad.
Well, he's calling John Carter. Why wouldn't he come in? He's right alongside
Here it is.
of him.
Let's have a look.
Well, it's not at all.
Well, I think maybe a quick word on the run may have been enough for Carter on that one.
I agree with that.
The crowd, 11,186. In fact, I think that's, well, I mean, that's only slowing the play up now, but at least the touch judge didn't come in and interrupt the flow of the play.
Well, if they're going to give a penalty back in, which they are by the looks of it.
Have another look. Where was first contact? He's going to give the penalty. Well, I can't agree with that. Well, I guess, hang on. I suppose the rule says if you make contact with the neck, he did that, but really it was not deserving of a penalty or not deserving of giving the opposition team 2 points. And the penalty's 7-4 in favour of Canberra. You're shaking your head, Arthur.
Well, we're talking about inconsistencies with refereeing. We saw a case last week. It's not for me to talk about it, but...
Well, it's a thin line, isn't it? He's made contact with the shoulder and probably the top of the chest, and maybe it slipped up and touched his neck. Where does the chest become the neck? What did you think, John?
I thought it looked pretty harmless, but the touch judge was in a better position, I think, than the referee. The referee obviously saw no danger there, but the touch judge made the decision.
Well, everybody can judge at home. You're not allowed to make contact with the neck. I suppose he's done it, but there's got to be some sort of realism, hasn't there? And there was no way the player was going to be hurt or injured by that tackle. David Ferner has kicked 3 from 4. This is an important one. He can make the difference, 12 points.
And he pushes it to the left. And in the in goal area, it's gathered in by Paul Smith, and he gets back into the field of play. Rather than taking the drop out from the 22, he decided to run it. Now Adamson.
That was a tremendous effort by Paul Smith. Laurie Daly confronted him. He had to beat Laurie Daly, which he did, to get back into the field of play.
Both Adamsons are on the field, Matt and Phil. Carter. Mackay. Peter Shields runs into a solid tackle by Clyde. Kicks on as they go downtown, and Alexander slips over.
That was tremendous pressure put on by Ricky Stewart. Ricky Stewart jumped out from the dummy half position, straight at Alexander, and consequently Greg Alexander lost his footing.
Gary Belcher virtually forced Sean Hoppy to go inside him there. Hoppy tried to stay on the outside, and Belcher wouldn't let him.
And there's a high tackle over the top by Shields.
On Mark Corvo.
Oh, great tackle.
Hongia puts it down. McNamara hitting hard. Third highest of the Penrith tacklers, and that one hurt. Penrith having made 144 tackles now to Canberra's 121. Lomax breaking from the scrum, knocked the ball out of his arms, but I don't know whether he broke before the ball had come out of the scrum.
Well, here's the blindside prop. It'll be interesting to see how quickly he broke. I'm just wondering what he was doing out there.
Yeah, let's have a look. See if the ball's out of the scrum before he breaks.
He does, you're
there
right.
It is. That's a fair. Nothing wrong with that.
The rule states that once the ball clears, goes it past the second row, it's out of the scrum, even though the lock might hold the ball in there.
Funny how referees sometimes penalise what looks unusual rather than the incident as it happens. Carter. Inside pass from Fiddler to Stewart. Fiddler lurking out wide that time.
Yeah, tremendous tackle by Croker to shut that move down.
And another tackle from Croker on Carter. And 19 metres out.
John, this is where they need a bit of Greg Alexander magic to get themselves back into the game, Penrith.
Yeah, he's been a little bit quiet, but if Penrith can hold it for 6 tackles, they're the masters of the set play. Here they're going wide with angle running.
Adamson to Shields. Last tackle coming up. They're only 13 metres out, the Panthers. They need a try. Adamson to his brother. Magore. It's the last tackle. They need to do something, and they've knocked it on. Brett Boyd. It wasn't only his fault. There was indecision there.
Yeah, I thought when they ran out their options down the blind, the grubber had to be put in behind the line.
Walters tries to go the blind side, but Boyd away to him. Well, Mackay it is, with Boyd. David Boyle waiting to come onto the field. Stewart. Meninga. Up the blind to Hoppy now. Mackay took the ball off him in the tackle. The referee has ruled that it was lost by Hoppy. May have been getting desperate as he went near the touchline.
Well, that's what's happened, no doubt, that when he looked like going into touch, he's released the ball. But a very poor pass by Meninga, as we see an intercept almost.
Carter couldn't hang on to it. Croker has it. He's played a good game, Croker. He's been everywhere. Missed tackles now by Penrith. 23 to Canberra's 14, a telling statistic. Handling errors pretty much the same. Losses of possession even. Now Furner. 35 metres out. Lomax up the middle. The field goal might still be in Ricky Stewart's mind. No, it goes to Meninga. There's a chance for Belcher. Mackay slow to turn. It beats them all. Well, big Graham Mackay turned around very slowly, and Gary Belcher coming through with Sean Hoppy was going to be very dangerous if it stayed in the field of play.
Well, we see the ball going down the blind side here. Meninga just putting a deft kick in behind the line, but Mackay very slow, and of course Corey Stewart was over guarding the goalposts.
Mark Corvo has left the field for Canberra. I don't think he'll be back. He was helped to the sideline. Carter, McGaw stepped inside Mal Meninga, and there was that swinging arm from Meninga trailing through the air. Didn't make contact as he was caught on the wrong foot. The wet conditions certainly made tackling on a stepper much more difficult. Alexander fires the pass out to Adamson. And Matt Adamson goes to ground on the
John,
jawline.
I think Penrith are making the mistake of trying to go down these 10-metre outside channels, and they're not worrying about now making the yardage.
Now I thought they sees it back by Fittler.
Throws it back inside. He's got support in Adamson. Good work to Alexander now. It came off a Canberra hand. Mullins dives on it. He's taken by Stewart, but a good burst by Fittler to take play to the other end of the field, and good support play.
And a tremendously good pass. A great pass back inside from Fittler. Good defence once again by Belcher, but
It's Arthur's very inviting when you see holes down the side of the field, and I'd like to see Penrith just knocking it upfield with inside balls, bit of angle running, and try and get some control. They're starting to really make some errors now after a promising start to the second half, and that's a big hit then.
It was a beauty by Fittler. Meninga. Quite a few balls on the ground at the moment. Loose passes. Daly. Last tackle coming up.
One thing about Laurie Daly, Johnny always straightens the attack up.
Doesn't do too much wrong, does he?
No.
Well, Ricky Stewart's kicking game has been vital to the Raiders. Always there on the last tackle to drive his opponents back. They have also looked a more organised team with him on the field. Suffered what we were told was an adductor muscle strain in the pre-season final. And I looked up an adductor muscle. You know what it is, Arthur? It's a groin muscle. There you go. So I guess what we've been calling for years a groin muscle, in the modern terminology of AC joints and everything else, is an adductor muscle.
There you go, Dr. Boland.
And I'll keep calling him a groin muscle. Mackay. Carter. McGaw. Taken well by David Boyle. Cartwright. And here's Penrith trying to get out of their own quarter again after they made a break to get down the other end of the field. Ricky Stewart has put them back on their heels, and it's heavy weather breaking the Canberra defence. Loose pass. They're forced to try something a little different. Like that pass from McNamara.
We're not used to seeing Penrith sides or Phil Gill's sides showing a lack of patience. That's exactly what they're doing at the moment. They appear to be panicking. As David Manson blows the whistle, it looks as though someone's coming over the top with the swinging arm.
Brett Boyd, the victim.
I think that was tit for tat. I think that Boyd had a bit of a go at... Well, there's nothing in that, is it? Really?
Well, Brett Boyd may be just having a little rest down there. I wonder if he is hurt or not. Must admit he's taking his time to get back up.
Well, if you remember, just down this left-hand sideline or right-hand side, or whichever you like, the nearest sideline, Brett Boyd did come in over the top very late on Wallace, so this is probably tit for tat. There's no doubt goes back. There's a little bit of rivalry on this.
Oh, no. Well, maybe Walters did make a bit of contact there with the face.
Trying to rearrange his face, do you think?
He thought he owed him one, Arthur, but it's been a lot better defensive performance from Canberra today.
Clyde saying that he didn't go on with what would have been a head high there as Mackay stepped him.
Where do you differentiate? He let that one go. Does he let Penrith play out the set of six and then come back and give a penalty?
Well, I think that one was a little more innocuous. He barely touched him as he went through. He tried to pull out of it. Here's Carter. Fittler loses it back. Now Stewart, plenty of time to make up his mind. It goes to Daly. Daly winds up. Still going. Stays on his feet with great balance. Stewart put him on the ground. Stewart on Daly. Now it's good work by Hoppy. Only 10 metres out. Penrith on the rack now. Still plenty of tackles up the green machine sleeve. Daly. Stewart shops around.
They moved up out wide. Magora and Boyd were up quick. Now Manson tells them to get back. Pongia. Through the hands of Lomax it goes.
And once again, a great tackle by Smith.
The pass, the ball has been lost in the tackle by Croker. Placement taking the field for Canberra, Mark Lowry. Lowry, who was with the Raiders, then played with Young last year, and back with the Raiders again this season. Looks like Pongia leaving the field. Fittler. Ten minutes to go in the match. Canberra leading 18 points to 8.
Mark Magore's been well contained today, John.
Yeah, he's been a little bit quiet, but you got to hand it to Canberra. After last week against St George, they were searching for an improved defensive effort. I think they've shown their coach that today.
Brad Fittler's in trouble. He still hasn't got to his feet. Now it's the last tackle for Penrith. The ball has been taken by Croker. And Cartwright angrily pushes him away. The referee saying it was stolen in the tackle.
I'm just wondering whether John Cartwright used his experience on this occasion.
Well, the referee was about 30 metres away. I don't know whether the touch judge gave him any assistance, but there's no way that Manson could have seen it. So whether it was stolen or whether it was given away, we'll never know. Paul Smith gets some heavy treatment. Lomax and Steve Waller's in there. Could easily have been a penalty against Lomax as he took off from the marker position, but he didn't come into the play.
John, I think that his 10 metres has been pretty ordinary today. David Manson at times.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's affected the game all that much, Arthur. I really think Penrith's just suffering from inexperience at the moment. There's been a lot of changes in the team, and plus a couple of players aren't quite back to form as they throw the ball around here, searching for a chink in the
chance out wide for them too. Oh, Fittler puts it down. It hasn't been a happy day for Brad Fittler. He's tried hard, but quite a few things haven't worked for him.
Yeah, definite chance there's this wide ball's put over the top by Greg Alexander. It was a tough one to take, but Freddie's a class player. Maybe he should have taken that.
And Brad Fittler knows there's going to be a battle for a spot in the New South Wales side to come this season for him. One of his teammates, Mark Magore, would like to be playing in the centres for the Blues. And there's Magore in to make the tackle. Oh, in fact, it's Adamson. Loose play, Clyde has to fall on it.
Ricky Stewart's shown today too that he can play this game in a dinner suit. He's only going half pace. He's just quick between the ears. His kicking game's been invaluable. And his direction.
And John, Steve Carter is going to have to watch his tackling style because he often goes ball and all, and a few of them are slipping high. They might look worse than they really are, but he's going to need to watch himself.
Well, he's one of the few players who certainly have to. But on that occasion there's nothing wrong with that, but he did definitely strip the ball there. John, you're right there. I don't think he's 100% fit either, Ricky Stewart.
Well, far from it, Arthur, but I think Sheens has just got a call on him. He means a lot to this team. His kicking game's been impeccable. Plus his direction, long balls.
Well, they tried Steve Stone last week. That didn't work, John.
Certainly.
Adamson. Court gets his pass away. Matt Adamson has mucked it up.
John, they're making a mistake of going sideways, aren't they? They're making it really easy for Canberra's defence. There's no one charging on to the ball. They're not even changing the angles, which they were doing first half. Missed tackles we see there. There's a whopping 25 by Penrith.
Yeah, it looked like their aim early was to...
But even now, in their efforts to beat that sliding defence, they've come up with a lot of lost possession.
And the handling errors are starting to really creep into their play now. Handing the ball over to the opposition as they're trying to force passes.
Yeah, the errors were 2-1 this half, Warren. But they're just searching now, trying to crack this Canberra defence, and Tim Sheens will be well pleased with the improvement. As you've got so many class players, it's just awesome when they're all playing well.
Shane O'Grady and David Furner caution. The penalty's gone to Canberra. They take the tap.
Well, I think they've contributed to their own downfall, John, as we see Clyde caught the ball up.
First tackle.
Yeah, great tackle by Freddie Fittler. Definite chance here.
Penrith haven't given it up yet. Cartwright taken close to the line by Daly.
There is a big improvement in that defence. It's very tempting when they show you some room down the side, and Penrith's been going for it, but it's been well contained.
Fittler, good offload. Now Alexander, and he manages to elude them with the pass. Carter gets it away. Smith. Alexander.
How do you cover the fence?
Darting and weaving Greg Alexander, but he's taken into touch. Brett Mullins all over him. The ground is very slippery, and if you're tackled 5 metres from the side, you're a chance of going over it.
Yeah, a lot of ball movement there. A couple of chances down that right-hand side by Penrith, but Canberra certainly up to the task. You see Fittler take the ball. It's Alexander rather pulling away from a tackler. And there's Brett Mullins there, just dragged him over the sideline, sliding with him.
Canberra with possession again. Solid defence comes in. Carter trying to kick through, may have been a little premature. Play on.
You just saw the worried look on Gus Gill's face. Be a little bit concerned at the moment. But they have looked to do intensity to their credit, Penrith. They are hitting with a little bit more vigour now, a little bit more sting. They're trying to turn this game around.
And Warren, we've got a Fijian on the field. Noah Nadruka, he's on for Sean Hoppy, the right wing.
And he chases Ricky Stewart's kick. Corey Stewart also chasing, but that's a great kick by Ricky Stewart. And Gary Belcher, David Furner, they all break into applause at the depth and direction of that kick by Stewart.
We spoke about Ricky Stewart's tactical kicking. There's no better tactical kicker in the game than Ricky Stewart.
We talk about Phil Gould and Tim Sheens. There'd be a bit of rivalry between them, both New South Wales State of Origin coaches and former Penrith associations.
John, there's been some outstanding performances. I think that Gary Belcher's also played well. His direction from the back, his defence has also been good. I think that young Walters, Steve Walters has played well up the middle. We see Fittler break down that right-hand flank.
Yeah, all their big guns have done well, Arthur.
Fittler very determined to make amends for a few of his mistakes in the latter period of this game. And Brett Mullins has been hurt in that charging run by Fittler. Now O'Grady takes the tackle.
Yeah, very vulnerable up in the forward pack now. They don't have a strike player, do they, John, with Mark Geyer going to Balmain?
Yeah, they're in a rebuilding stage, Arthur. They've lost so much experience and toughness there. Paul Clark's a big loss at the moment.
Well, they did. They're without Paul Dunn, who transferred to Parramatta also.
And maybe that short kick a moment ago by Alexander, taken by Stewart, symbolised the battle between the two. I think the honours have gone to Ricky Stewart. Today, anyway.
He's had a bit of help with him, Warren.
He has, certainly. Yeah, much stronger forward pack to start with. Now, here's a race for the ball. Stewart comes across. Nadruka tries to take it. It came off his legs, and Corey Stewart managed to pick up the ball, but for a moment Corey Stewart realised he couldn't get to it first and allowed Nadruka that first shot at it.
He mightn't know much about our game, but he certainly knows how to run. He certainly knows his way to the try line, John.
Yep. Could have made an instant hero of himself. He'd have tapped that in with his foot.
Penalty goes to Penrith, but it's a little too late. They're down by 10 points, and there's only a minute and a half to go. Another incident. There's been a little bit of fire. A few unsavoury incidents between both teams. Alexander takes the tap on his own quarter. Fittler beats one. He left Furner going the wrong direction. Smith. Plenty of determination from Penrith. They've thrown the ball this way and that, but it's been the pattern that's let them down. Oh, Harder throws a speculator if you'd give it that much credit. That was a nothing pass.
Yeah, that was an awful pass. That's not first-rate stuff. And of course, he gets a pat in the back there by Ricky Stewart, who certainly knows how to win.
And to rub it in. Oh, this is dreadful football now.
Well, I don't even know what
I think it's for
here.
obstruction.
Well, I don't know. I thought a lot of it
Seemed to be an indication that a player was taken out without the ball. Let's have a look at it.
Well, he's ruled maybe to
Or even done
Cartwright's hands on, I don't know.
It's Ian McCann on there wearing 25 for Penrith. But the penalty has gone to Canberra. The time is gone, and this kick will be taken after the bell. But the game has been won and lost. And the Raiders have put their first win of the year. And a very valuable 2 points, because there's certainly no doubt that Canberra would have been facing, well, almost a disastrous situation if they'd lost their first two games of the season, both of them at home. If they'd lost those two, it's going to get tougher for the Raiders as the representative season kicks in a couple of months' time. And Furner from 40 metres out. No pressure on him at all. Penrith take it, and they're going to run it as Adamson comes away with it. Beats one tackle. I don't know if anyone can be bothered chasing him. Most of the players on both sides are just standing there watch. And in the end, he runs over the sideline, and I think everyone's quite happy about it, because nothing was going to change as far as the result went. And 20 of the 26 players. Important day for them. Paul Osborne in the front row alongside Steve Walters. At fullback, it's Gary Belcher, Noah Nadruku on one wing, Mal Meninga partners David Boyle in the centre, with Brett Mullins dropped to reserve grade, Sean Hoppy on the other wing, Laurie Daly is the 5'8", Ricky Stewart at halfback, Jason Croker locked forward, Quentin Pongia and David Furner in the second row. Darren Fritz comes into the front row for John Lomax, who's out injured, Steve Walters the hooker, and Paul Osborne the other front rower. Ricky Stewart was picked to represent country during the week, but withdrew with a groin strain, but is playing today. The Bulldogs have won all but last week's game so far this season, so they have been in fine form, only beaten narrowly by a very strong St George side last week. Laurie Daly just making his way onto the field, must have just got back from Sydney. Luke Goodwin at fullback, Brett Dallas on one wing, Darren Smith and Jared McCracken the centre pair, Jason Williams the other winger, Terry Lamb the 5'8" and captain, Craig Pollamouter at halfback,